There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlyn Clark's name out.
Today, we've got something really interesting to talk about. Caitlyn Clark and the controversy surrounding her and WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes.
This isn't just for Caitlyn, but you asked me about Caitlyn. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player said it, right?
If you've been following the WNBA, you know Caitlyn Clark is turning heads, leading her team, the Indiana Fever, to record-breaking heights. But recently, Sheryl Swoopes, one of the greatest to ever play in the WNBA, seemed to throw some shade at Clark. Let's break down what's going on here. First, let's talk about Caitlyn Clark. She's a rookie, but you wouldn't know it from the way she's been playing. She's leading the league in assists, and she's a big reason why the Fever have been shattering attendance and viewership records. Fans can't get enough of her, and she's quickly becoming one of the most influential players in the WNBA. Her presence on the court is undeniable, and she's bringing new energy to the league. Yet, despite all this, it seems like not everyone is giving her the credit she deserves, and that's where Sheryl Swoopes comes in. Recently, Sheryl Swoopes made some comments that got people talking. On her podcast, Queens of the Court, she talked about the Fever's success this season. She mentioned players like Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, and A'ja Wilson, but not Caitlyn Clark. Not once. And that omission feels pretty deliberate.
Shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Watch her in AU. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle and just couldn't miss. Kelsey Mitchell is just stroking. She is just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double.
Sheryl Swoopes is a legend. She's won championships, Olympic gold medals, and is in the Hall of Fame. So why wouldn't she mention the rookie who's leading the league in assists and bringing so much attention to the WNBA? Sheryl Swoopes' comments, or the lack thereof, are making people wonder if there's some tension or bias here. It's not just about one player being overlooked. It's about what it means when a rising star like Caitlyn Clark isn't getting recognized by someone as respected as Swoopes. Think about it. How often do we see a rookie come in and immediately start breaking records? It's rare, and it should be celebrated. But instead, Swoopes is focusing on other players and leaving Clark out of the conversation. This kind of selective praise does more than just ignore Clark's achievements. It undermines them. Now, don't get me wrong, I have all the respect in the world for Sheryl Swoopes. She's a trailblazer who paved the way for many of the players we see today. But that's what makes her comments about Caitlyn Clark so surprising. Swoopes is in a position where her words carry weight. When she speaks, people listen. So when she chooses not to speak about Clark, it sends a message, whether she means to or not. Sheryl Swoopes isn't just another commentator. She's a pioneer, and her insights are valued. So her omission of Caitlyn Clark's name feels like a deliberate choice, a subtle jab at a player who's doing everything right, but still isn't getting the recognition she deserves. This brings up a bigger question within the WNBA community. Is there a reluctance to fully embrace Caitlyn Clark as the new face of the league? Are some of the legends of the past hesitant to pass the torch to the new generation? Caitlyn Clark is not just playing basketball, she's elevating the game. She's drawing in new fans, breaking viewership records, and bringing more attention to the WNBA than ever before. So why is there resistance, especially from someone like Sheryl Swoopes, who should be one of her biggest supporters? Let's take another look at what Sheryl Swoopes actually said about the Indiana Fever. She praised Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, and A'ja Wilson for their performances. She talked about how the Olympic break helped the Fever regroup and come back stronger. But again, no mention of Caitlyn Clark. What makes this even more striking is that Swoopes knows basketball inside and out. She understands the game better than most. So how do you analyze a team's success without mentioning the player who is leading the league in assists and has been instrumental in bringing the Fever to where they are now? We also need to address the elephant in the room: race and legacy. Caitlyn Clark is often seen as the great white hope of the WNBA, and that label comes with its own set of issues. She's a young white player in a league that has been predominantly African American. And while her talent is undeniable, there's a sense that some people are uncomfortable with the amount of attention she's getting. Sheryl Swoopes, as a black woman and a pioneer in the WNBA, might see this as a form of erasure of the contributions of black players who came before Clark. But it's also important to recognize that Caitlyn Clark isn't just a product of media hype. She's earning every bit of the attention she's getting. She's putting up numbers, breaking records, and bringing more eyes to the league. And that benefits everyone. Here's the thing. Caitlyn Clark isn't going anywhere. She's only going to get better, and her influence on the game is only going to grow. The WNBA is at a critical moment where it can either embrace this new talent and the buzz it's creating, or risk alienating a new generation of fans who are drawn to players like Clark. Sheryl Swoopes and other veterans of the game have a choice to make. They can either focus on the past and hold on to old grudges, or they can acknowledge the new wave of talent that's coming up and help elevate it. Because in the end, what's good for Caitlyn Clark is good for the WNBA. Her success doesn't take away from the accomplishments of those who came before her. It builds on them. Caitlyn Clark is here to stay, and it's time we all start giving her the respect she's earned. Sheryl Swoopes, if you're listening, it's not too late to change the narrative. Acknowledge what Caitlyn Clark is doing for the game, and let's move forward together. What do you think about this situation? Do you agree with Sheryl Swoopes, or do you think she's overlooking Caitlyn Clark's contributions? Is Caitlyn Clark an MVP candidate in your eyes?